Hello, welcome back to the dumbest guy in the room with myself, Bill McDale. It feels good to finally get to sit back down and do a recording. I think it's been about a month since the last one I did. So it feels good to be back, and thank you for watching my channel. Today, I would like to talk about something that has really struck my heart recently because it's starting to affect um, my children and everybody's children at this point. So I really wanted to kind of get into detail and just have a discussion on pride. Pride in general is what I'm focusing on. Um, I do first. What I want to do is let me. I want to define it. That way we know we're kind of on the same page. I find that many of the problems that exist when it comes to a conversation is that we don't define exactly what it is that we're arguing about, which if you don't define what you're having the conversation about or having a dialogue about, a lot of times you're not going to be able to find a solution because you may agree um, and you don't know it because you have a different definition of a word. So first, what I'm going to bring up is I'm just going to bring up the actual definition of pride from um, the Webster Dictionary. And give me a second. It's my first time trying to kind of do this type of podcast, so bear with me. Here it is. All right, so pride. Pride is, when I am talking about pride, I'm talking about the quality or state of being proud. And the reason that I like to define pride is everybody I've talked to, like I said, has had this other separate definition. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but I think it's important to acknowledge um, exactly what I'm talking about, so that if you have if you agree with me or disagree with me, at least hey, well, we have the same definition of pride, so let's further that conversation. But I always do something else when I'm looking up definitions of words. So I started, and I've just started to do this quite recently, but I found it to be pretty effective. Um, and I look up the etymology to the word. What that is, if you're not really familiar, it's the origin of the word. Um, the reason I do that is because the etymology of the um, English language was created by uh, Christians. Um, so what that tells me is that specific group of people, they took words from the Greek mythology and Latin and French and everything that was already existing, and they created a new language. So when we do that, all we're really doing is taking the sounds that we're making with our emotion, and we're creating a meaning to it, which is actually pretty impressive for that humans were able to do that, because we're the only ones to really kind of decipher the sounds that we're making. So I always kind of look into the etymology of the word that we're talking about, and this really comes from Old English. I believe uh, the actual word it comes from is "preed," and "preed" was meaning something of value. So something of value is kind of how I like to look at pride. Something of value that you can um, feel uh, joy, a sense of joy when it is achieved, and try to hold on to it as long as possible. Um, Now, I didn't want to have this conversation just to talk about pride and what pride is. You can have your own definition, but my main focus today is this new world that we're living in, where uh, we th- we we think that it's okay to kind of force our kids into some sort of ideology, starting at early as kindergarten. And to me, that's what hurts my heart, because it's not even it's not the pride part of any of that. It's literally the fact that we're pushing ideology on children starting in kindergarten. Now, what I would say is ask yourself, if you like what you remember from kindergarten, and if you remember, um, you know, anybody talking about uh, the color of people's skin. If you remember somebody talking about their sexuality, their gender, or whatnot, and then if they did mention that, um, was it out of a hateful language, or was it out of a curious voice? Because I think that's where we kind of are misinterpreting things. Is kids are curious, and they should be curious. That should be the meaning of education at a young age, is to be curious and to encourage curiousness and creativeness and uniqueness, um, and stop trying to like point out the what already exists that kids can see. They're kids, unless you're blind, unfortunately. But kids can see, they hear, they are in their head creating thoughts. And without those thoughts of future generations, how do we innovate? You can't innovate if there's no new thoughts. So when we're telling kids, hey, this is what you need to know, and not, this is what you need to know, and this is what you need to think about it, uh, and this is how you should feel, then all we're doing is recreating the present, which is kind of defeats the purpose of life, um, as a universal purpose of life, like life overall. I'm not talking about my purpose or your purpose, but at an overall view, we should be working towards progress, innovating, making life just a more positive, accepting place. And that's not happening if you're going to teach the kids the same things we already know, because obviously what we already know is not working. So if we do not think outside the box, we're going to continue to do things that are not working. Um, with that being said, kind of the reason that I started to really get passionate about it, um, and speak out about it, was because I saw what the North Penn school district in Pennsylvania was actually showing these kids and encouraging families to show these children. Um, they're very disturbing, and I'm gonna show you some of the stuff now. Mhm. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. All right, so I found it on their Facebook page. They had um, they had posted because this is really kind of, it's unfortunate because since specifically June is LGBTQ Pride Month, and that's what the ideology is that they're pushing right now in this month. It's unfortunate that people, since I spoke out about it right now, people of that community think I'm targeting that community when I'm talking about this, and I'm not. So I just want to make that 100% clear. I am not targeting you. If you feel that you were targeted, please comment, and I'd love to talk to you, um, because I just it's not about that. It's about the group think, group ideology, and not embracing the qualities of children for what they are: good, bad, ugly. They should all be embraced inside that child, not from an external point of view. Like kids see magic, kids still see magic, and we're trying to steal that away from them and show them this um, ugly, ugly world that we've created because we've become these beautiful, perfect people. So everything outside of us um, must be ugly and fixed. That's how I see how the majority of people today think because, well, I thought that way when I was thinking group think. All right. All right. So this is the page. This is what they posted. It looks beautiful. Looks nice. Looks encouraging. Looks like love. I think they even say like love is love. They constantly say love is love. Um, but this isn't where you find what I'm talking about. This is you don't see that here. They kind of hide it um, so that people can. Uh, some people hopefully look, but I'm going to show you the page. So this is their the actual school district's homepage for their online channel. I'm going to put the link in the comments or in the description. Please, 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 please go through this, check out these links, um, and just look at everything. I'm going to show you a few different things that are like extremely disturbing to me as an individual that I would not want my kids to ever see it, even as an adult. I don't want to see it because it's not positive, it is not loving, it is not working towards equality. It's working towards uh, loving a certain group of people. It's working towards um, being positive about a certain group of people. It's being it's giving equality to a certain group of people, but it's leaving out the rest of the world. So when you do that, you're not fighting for equality. You are fighting for other people to accept your quality, which is you can't make people accept anything about you. And if you think you can, you're gonna you're gonna struggle through life. Because I tried it and it doesn't work. You might end up being an alcoholic and having to get sober and deal with your demons that way. And that's it's not fun. Trust me. But I'm sure it's really no different for you. So let me go through some of these. Um, I'll click on this one, and then I already pulled some of the articles up so that you can, so I can kind of jump right to them. Children about Pride Month. If you see all the different colors, Pride Month goes over what it is, why it was created, which is fine. And it goes over promoting acceptance, not discrimination. So if that's your goal, good. I'm with you. I agree. I think that's what we need to do. Promote acceptance, not discrimination. That's it's a good way to go. So encourage children to treat everyone with respect, fairness, and compassion. Completely agree. I think kids need to be encouraged to treat everyone with respect, fairness, and compassion. And the only way to encourage children to do things is to do them yourself and to do them yourself in a genuine way. If you're putting on an act and acting like you're doing it, kids can see it and kids will react the opposite way. So if you start seeing your kids doing the opposite of what you would like to see, it's not because you're not telling them the right things, it's because you're not doing the right things. You see, kids, it's crazy because I have three kids. One of them is my oldest boy is he's 6 years old, Liam. Unfortunately, he's my trial child, I guess. And I'm learning so much as I grow as a parent, and I can see the fact that it doesn't matter what I tell him. It doesn't matter. Um, it really does not matter what I tell him. It's the way that I respond to what he's doing that creates what he wants to be. You see, as soon as we become self-aware and self that we're an actual, that we are an individual, um, we start to kind of judge by what people, not what they like or anything, but what they show meaning to. So, for example, if my my daughter right now, my daughter is my daughter's 2, and if she's pointing at something, she's so curious. She's always like pointing. She can talk a little bit, but she's a little brat, so she typically, points at things, and she knows that daddy will get it for her. But she'll point at things, and if nobody reacts, and she keeps doing it, nobody reacts. Um, it's like that thing doesn't exist anymore in her life. But if I point to things and or if she points to something, or she's laughing at something, if she does something and she gets a reaction from people, she's going to repeat that behavior constantly. And then she's going to be, and then you can see when she doesn't get a reaction from it, she gets confused, and then it comes out in all different types of emotions. But they are looking for a way to be seen. They just want to be a person, no matter how we view it. That's what they want. They just want to feel the love. So we need to kind of encourage. Um, we need to encourage them to be them. So when they're trying to do something and create something, like make sure it's something that is meaningful to them, and then show the good encouragement. I think that's a big problem with parenting, especially in myself when I was uh, early in my parenthood, is I would um, I wasn't really I wasn't even really in my son's life for the first like year and a half. I mean, we were still with my current wife, and I existed, but I just got sober about a year into his life, and it was a work in progress for me. So I was still working on myself and trying to work on a family at the same time, which is extremely difficult. And people, I would say I should have been way more responsible before I had the kid, and I wouldn't have had to deal with that. But I did, and I faced it head on, and I took that on. And unfortunately, it's going to affect my son, I think, for the longest, because, well, it was a trial, and everything that was wrong with me was getting manifested in him, just because of the way I was reacting to the things he was doing. So, for example, I really wasn't paying attention when he was doing things that were funny, joyful, respectful, and like I just wouldn't pay much attention to him. I say, "Oh, it's cool, man, thanks." Like, "Oh, that's what," but it wasn't like a genuine emotion. But when he was bad, he got the genuine emotion. When he was bad, I mean my bad. So whatever was uh, getting me upset that day, it was I was kind of or that day, whatever upset me because I was irritated with whatever was going on in my life. What he would do would irritate me, so I would then manifest that anger, that resentment, that envy, jealous, whatever it is that I'm holding on into him, and that what creates a child, to continue to bad behavior. When they're only being recognized for bad behavior, they're going to continue to act out with bad behavior, because it's like, oh, hey, look at me, I'm doing something bad, even though they would cry or whatnot. When they get yelled at, punished, like they don't want that, but you're not rewarding them when they're doing something good. The reward doesn't feel good enough to them to want to be good rather than bad, because they're going to get a way better um, feeling from that reaction, because they're going to feel real, which is breaks my heart to think about, because I'm not perfect. I see when I do it, and now that I am conscious and aware that I'm doing it, it hurts even more because I recognize it quicker. Um, but the benefit of that is I get to address it quicker and kind of learn from it and do it a little less. All right, let's get through this thing. So here's some other topics they talk about. 10 ways homophobia affects straight people. That's all good and dandy. But here's this queer kid stuff. That's a YouTube channel. There's a few things in this University of Southern Cal that has a bunch of other YouTube channels. Educate and Celebrate, some YouTube channels in there, and things to teach in your school. So let me jump to one of the pages. So this was on, I believe, the California page, and it's called Woke Kindergarten. Woke Kindergarten. Yeah, I'll let that sit in for a second. Woke Kindergarten, because now kindergartners need to be woke. Okay. So in here, they have a bunch of things. I'm going to pull up their philosophy first. Their philosophy, and remember, yes, it's woke kindergarten. It's not directly North Penn sitting on their homepage, but this is the things that they're promoting in the background. So this is what everywhere does. This is what corporations like. This is kind of what they do. They support this other entity that has these other agendas, but it's like, well, they're not me, and I didn't know that, so they can kind of push it off. But this is what they're encouraging this stuff. They can't just throw this on their homepage, um, but the link is on their homepage, which makes it theirs, in my opinion, because they are in control of education and the information that is being um, given to my children. So liberation is the goal, and you can read the rest. Abortion is the journey. Woke Kindergarten is a global learning community, creative, supporting children, families, educators, organizations, and their commitment to education and pro-Black liberation. How does this equal equality? You can't abolish anything besides inequality to achieve equality, right? If you want equality, the only thing that you can abolish is inequality, um, not anything else, because anything else would create equality or inequality. So it doesn't make sense. If you take something from someone, then you are creating a inequality. You are not creating equality. So I just don't understand that. Now let's go back to the homepage here. Since we got their philosophy down, I want to talk about these, or actually share some of these videos that they show kids. It's called 60-second texts. It is a bunch of videos that they just there's a topic and then they flash different pictures and say different words for about for 60 seconds. And I just again this one I would definitely recommend here. The 60-second spot the difference. Uh, Everything's about differences. Everything's about differences. However, nothing is about responsibility or similarities. It's just differences. It's like you are part of the LGBTQ committee, and this is what you are. This is what white people are. This is what black people are. This is what Spanish people are. This is what our allies are. And they describe what they are. And I just, I can't see how they would know that because, well, they don't know me. I never been interviewed. So how are they going to tell me that I am exactly what that white guy is and that white guy is? And I'm like a completely different person than both my brothers. And they're my brothers. And I have different values and different goals and different, just, it blows my mind. However, again, I was stuck in that concept for a very long time. So I don't want to act like grasping something like this is easy or necessary for you. I'm just saying that I don't think we should force those things onto kids. When you tell a kid you should have pride in X, Y, or Z in kindergarten, and they're like, and they attach themselves to X, they're just going to become X, right? They're not going to become them. They're going to become what everybody in that X is. And they're going to lose themselves within that madness. And it creates what we see today, in my opinion. So I want to watch this video here.
Rainbow Baby by Key. Yellow. Can you find the color yellow?
I'm sorry.
Purple. Can you find the color purple?
I apologize. Let me start that over.
Rainbow Baby by Key. Yellow. Can you find the color yellow? Purple. Can you find the color purple? Red. Can you find the color red? Orange. Can you find the color orange? Brown. Can you find the color brown? Pink. Can you find the color pink? Green. Can you find the color green? Blue. Can you find the color blue? Black. Can you find the color black? Rainbow. Can you find all the colors of the rainbow?
I think you already know my opinion, so I don't want to get too into it. But you make your own opinion about that. It is absolutely just doesn't it doesn't make sense. It's called rainbow. They show them colors in the background. It's showing ideology. It's showing different beliefs. It's showing something that it doesn't make sense to me to show somebody that, one, it's woke kindergarten and kindergartners can't read, so you're showing them pictures of words that they can't even conceptualize yet, and just showing the color. So when they see purple, they associate it with that picture, and they shouldn't. Again, all it's doing is showing the differences between colors. That's what, to me, that's what that teaches. It's like, this is purple. It's different than what yellow is, just to kind of help with that. Colors are different, but yellow, everything yellow is the same, and that's not true either, because a lemon is not the sun. And yeah, they're both yellow. They both have a yellow quality, but they serve two different purposes. They have two different unique meanings for life. They serve two different purposes. So no, they're not going to face the same problems now. Why we think that they do, I don't know. So the next one, again, just come up with your own opinion of that video. And if you see it a different way, if you see it as a positive, or if you see it as a negative with a different meaning behind it, I would love to hear it. So the other YouTube channel that was on, again, North Penn's suggested list is it's called Queer Kids Stuff. Now, Queer Kids Stuff, it looks like for the most part, it is a lot of the videos are like, I'm sorry, a lot of the videos are, come on, gotta get better at this. Really? Alright, I'll just stay here. So a lot of the videos are just kind of reiterations of what things are, which, you know, I'm okay with them explaining what words are. I think explaining to kids what words mean is important, but I also believe asking kids what they think it means is also important, because that kind of makes them think. So when it makes them think, they kind of one, they understand things better, and two, they remember more. So if they think and they say something incorrectly, it needs to be addressed, and that's why it's important to explain words and things like that. But as far as going into a song about privilege
Hey there, I'm Lindsay.
for a kid,
Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. Today we're talking about something
hold on.
called privilege. Stuff. You are enough.
Just gonna speed through this a little bit so you can kind of hear the song. Come on. All right, and then I'm gonna show another one. But you have the ability to go to YouTube, find it, and watch all the videos. I would recommend because they say things in each video sometimes that don't have to do with the video. So here's the problem with teaching kids about privilege is one, you're telling a child that um, has not been able to um, really understand anything about who they are. They are already self-conscious, so they're already judging themselves compared to others. And then you tell a kid that they have privilege. You tell a kid that they have privilege for something that they didn't ask for. Kids didn't ask for privilege. Kids didn't ask to be um, white, black. They didn't ask to be gay, lesbian, trans. They didn't ask to be male, female, or whatever the other genders are. They didn't ask for that. They did not ask for it. So why should we be telling them that they're either privileged or oppressed because of those things that they did not ask for? Um, I think when you do that, it is putting a thought process in their mind of, well, I'm flawed, and or I'm supposed to be privileged, and I don't feel that. They just told me I'm better than these kids, but I feel worse. They just told me I have more advantages in this world, but I don't feel that way. Then you telling another kid that they are already um, they're starting off, in last place, and um, they're not going to be able to get to first place. Well, because of that privileged kid over there. So now they start to judge themselves by what that kid's doing, and it can create somebody that is so lost that they think there's no hope, so they just continuously move with the same actions throughout life, and they never find that hope. They never find that um, whatever that thing is that they were looking for. So that's why I don't think you should tell kids they have privilege or they're oppressed. I think telling people that they're privileged and oppressed is a form of oppression. Um, at this point, I think I know it is. And the worst part about it is the person telling the real person telling you that you're privileged or oppressed is you, because you don't have to listen to what anybody really tells you. So the real person that has to defeat that first is you. But let me show you this other one. And again, a reason that I um, gotta find this other one. Another reason why it kind of disturbs me is because I have I have on multiple occasions contacted the school board of North Penn School District about some of the policies that they were putting in place because, well, they seemed politically motivated instead of geared towards the welfare of the children, like what's best for the kids, not what's best politically. And I was, I had the, um, it was my interpretation of what they were doing is that it was not for the benefit of the children, but it was for politics. However, I also recognized that they seemed very unaware of their why they were doing what they were doing. They just seemed like it was the right thing, and that's okay. However, when the right thing is based off of one point of view, it means it's being that right thing is being motivated by that point of view, which in return is politics. Um, so uh, it was being politically motivated, but they told me it wasn't. But this is a video. It's a video they're showing kids, but it's not politics. That part. That is extremely disturbing. I don't care what political view you have. That is extremely um, that's as far gets when it comes to showing something to a child. You just told a child that it's a truth that this man is mean, right? So when once a kid hears mean, it's like, or once even now adults, once they hear this person is mean, and that means that person's always mean. So it doesn't matter what they do; they're just always mean. And then they associated the grown-ups that voted for Trump. And the problem with that is the media had so many people, including myself for a little bit, so wrapped up in the politics that that's what people were talking about. So then they heard, let's say they heard their parents talking um, about politics. They overheard, I'm voting for Trump. Now it's like, my parents are mean. No, voting, casting your vote for somebody that has agendas aligned for you that meet that this really irritates me that their policies and what they stand for you, and then you cast your vote for them. It does not make you mean. Like when did we become the mean police? Like when everybody's mean. Everybody is mean. Everybody has the capability of being mean. Everybody has the capability of being good and nice. Everybody. And until we look at ourselves and to figure out that, you're never going to see it on the outside. And that's an issue that we are just grasping with every inch of our body. We're just holding on to whatever that is, and we can't let go. And I'm telling you, as soon as you let go, this stuff, it kind of opens your eyes to what it did to you. And not just this, it goes down all the way to, a whole, yeah, it goes down to kindergarten, but you don't really remember that stuff. So I can't for sure say that that's what created me, but it did. I just don't know exactly what was going on. I was just kind of moving. Um, but if you look at the generation today, everybody's so full of themselves. Everybody's in the mirror. Everybody. It's like me, 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 me. But who are you? Have you even like who are you? And I don't mean you. I'm talking like who am I? Right? Like I got to describe myself before I can ask for things. I don't even know who I still don't know who I am. And I think that's the biggest issue is people say, I'm my um, authentic self. I'm my authentic self. Are you? Really ask yourself that. Are you your authentic self? What is your authentic self? Can you describe that for me, please? Because typically the answer is it's me living every day as I want to live. It's like, okay, well, what do you do every day that makes you feel like you are yourself? And that's when like anger, frustration comes out of people because they don't really know the answer. They don't want to get that deep because if they get once you get that deep, and you start to get into that, you have to recognize that you are not as good and pure as you think you are. You have the capability of being just as terrible as you view the most terrible person that you know. That's the reason you judge them that way, is because you have that capability and you don't want to recognize it. So you put it on somebody else instead of yourself. All right. What did I have here? It's my boy Malcolm X. All right. So now that I've kind of addressed what the school board, I'm going to wait to get to this. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but let's. I want to tell you why I also came up to the conclusion that North Penn School District um, was being political and that they didn't know that they were being political. Um, how I kind of came to that conclusion before this. So the things what I um, what I used to do, and this is what most people do, and this is kind of what they teach by this whole. This is what's different. This is all that. What they do is you're kind of taught. You're taught that you are a beautiful person for your unique ways, right? That's what tell your kids that they're perfect for all their whatever they are, but you're not describing exactly what they are. You're just telling them that they're, good kids and that they're beautiful and they can be whatever they want. It's beautiful, but you never really defined any of that, right? You never sat down and said, "What do you think you are?" And then kind of ask why. Like for my kids, what I try to do is ask them, "What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be today? What do you wish you could be today? Why do you want to be that? What is it that makes you want to be an astronaut?" Because my son wants, for some reason, be an astronaut. He said he wants to go to space. And why do you want to go to space? Like why are you afraid? Are you afraid to go into space? It's high, or do you like going high? And that's kind of how you get encourage kids to figure themselves out, is by asking them questions like that, not by telling them they're just beautiful kids and they're unique in their own way. And then when you want to implement something like this, after you just told your kid that they're beautiful, unique, and all these things, which one doesn't work in its own, um, that just doing that doesn't work either because they know you yell at them. So if you're punishing them and calling them beautiful at the same time, it's going to confuse them as well because, which is inevitable, but it's going to confuse them as well because you told them that they're beautiful and good, and why am I punished? It's confusing. I can see why. And then you're going to teach them, well, all these other kids are different, specifically in these ways. These are the ways that they're different. These ways. These are the differences, just these. And they're perfect for who they are. And it's okay. It's like yeah, they're perfectly imperfect, but they're not perfect. Just like you're not perfect. They're just as ugly as they are beautiful, just as you are, and that's not what they're being told. They're being told that they're beautiful for what they are, and they're beautiful for what they are, but they're different. You don't see how that can be confusing? Because if you ask me, it's like, well, where's the ugly? What's ugly? What's imperfect? What's evil? If I'm good and they're good, where's the evil? You got to find it, right? It exists. Ironically, you can't have good without bad. You can't have yin yang. You can't have one without the other. It has to exist. So where do you look for it? And where we tend to look for things, especially as children, is we use these, and we find it, and we latch onto that, and That's it. That's all it is. And we hold it as a conviction to our life that that is the thing that is X. That's what we do. The reason that we do that, in my opinion, is because I believe that we have two different thought processes when processing what things are, what people are compared to ourselves, right? So if I'm judging you, what I'm looking at is the I'm looking at the what my assumed intention of yours is, and not the actual action. I'm only looking at the intention, and I'm like that. They have bad intentions, not taking into consideration anything else about it. That's it. First thought. That's what the thought is. The other thing is when I do something, what am I judging? So when I'm judging me, I look at the um, intention to justify the action, right? So I'm looking at my intention. I'm like, well, I'm a good person. I didn't mean for this bad result, but it's justified because I know I'm a good person. I didn't mean for that to happen. So I must be a good person. And then when you see somebody else do the same exact thing you do, you're assuming negative intent because some subconsciously you know what the intent was when you did it, but you're not willing to accept it. So what you're going to do is say, well, it's your fault. You're the bad person. Look at you. It's like, how do you know their intention if you never had that intention? And if you never had the intention, who told you that that's an intention of somebody's when they do something like that? Everything is good and bad. Remember that. Everything is good and bad. Everything is right and wrong. Everything is. Um, so, with that being said, I think that one thing we need to do is kind of just step back and just reflect on yourself. But to get back to where I've seen those things happening within the school board of North Penn School District is especially with the mask thing, right? Like, so me personally, I did not believe in the masks. Um, if you did believe in the masks, that is perfectly fine. I think you have every reason to believe it. It's been, kind of more pushed towards the media, at least has pushed towards masks are uh, they work and they prevent the contagious uh, rate for COVID. But in my opinion, and looking through everything that I was looking at, I didn't think that the masks actually were useful. I thought they were more harmful than useful because of how little they did protect, that they made people feel more comfortable than they should around other people that had the mask. So in my opinion, if people that were sick wore masks, it not only would, help them little droplets that they were talking about, but it would also allow everybody to kind of see that person is sick. So maybe we should kind of back away from that person. Like you wake up, your allergies, whatever it is, and you feel, even now I'm talking right now, and you feel kind of just a little bit on the sick side. Just put a mask on, you go out, everybody knows, and now everybody knows. All right, I'm just going to keep my distance from that guy because that guy is a mask on. If you want to put it on other people to protect you, that's the best way to do it, and that's the best way for somebody to accept accept the responsibility on yourself and wear the mask just so everybody knows that you're sick. You can't. But I don't like giving people a false sense of safety, and I think when you do that, um, it's dangerous to more people than uh, it is their feelings, right? So, yes, I care about your feelings. I don't want you to be. I don't ever want to hurt your feelings. It's not my intention to hurt your feelings. However, it is my intention to not provide you with a false sense of security because you may believe something that may not uh, align with what I believe. So I'm willing to accept um, disrespecting, or I shouldn't say accept disrespecting. I'm willing to accept that somebody will feel disrespect towards me, um, knowing that I am living my authentic self. You can never live your authentic self if you're not okay with somebody feeling disrespected around you, because it's inevitable. Somebody's going to feel disrespected um, by your truth. That's just that's the reality of the world. Um, so what they did was they took they're making all the kids wear masks, making them stay home. They're making them kindergartners go to school in their house. It was a terrible, 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 terrible situation for my wife because she was the one that was home with them. Um, and it was honestly like it was insane. They put so much like pressure on the parents and so much responsibility on the parent to be a teacher, and they weren't a teacher. They were the parent, but you had to like every 30 minutes sign into something new, and the kids don't know how to use a computer because it's the first time they're using a computer. And it was just absolute chaos. So I would call, and I just couldn't understand for the life of me why they were doing these things and why they were putting masks on these kids and the statistics. I hate statistics. I could talk about that all day. I absolutely hate statistics. Um, I should say I absolutely hate statistics that are presented to me by somebody that I didn't ask to present them to, because statistics are the easiest thing to manipulate, um, but they're facts. So what are you going to do about it? I can get into that in another video, but statistics are any statistics shown to me that I didn't ask for, I kind of look at it with uh, a fourth of a truth, and then do some research to figure out what you should really be looking for, which is still not the truth, because statistics get way too complicated to be able to formulate like a truth. Um, but I I went on to and again, this is what, so Tina Stoll was the one I really dealt with. She's the president. She was adamant that it was for protecting the kids, for protecting. You need to protect, 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 protect. And I said, okay, but why do you think you can uh, control what my kid is doing as far as protection? Like, why do you think you can protect your kid, or why do you think that your decision is a better protection for my kid? Why do you think that what you're saying is better for my kid? Why does it? And then, again, the thing that bothered me the most about it was they asked the parents in the beginning of the school year if they wanted to do school in school or online, and they had the option. And then I went on the call with the board members. Most of the people that were, most of the parents that were calling in didn't want to do online school. Like they wanted the kids to go to school, and they still took that restriction away and said, no, you got to be at home. And it was, well, protection, protection, protection. So they completely ignored the parents that wanted their kids to go to school in order to push again, some political view. Because if I want my kid to go to school and the kids that are going to school as well, their parents wanted their kid to go to school, why do you think that you're responsible for protecting them? You don't think that the parent knows best for their kid? I think they know better than you because they know their kid better than you. But you think you know the kid because of their, um, you know, identity politics that you are creating on both sides. Um, so that was the first thing, and that really really bothered me. I was on the phone with them for a very long time, and they didn't care. They would hang up on me. Um, they had nothing intelligent to say besides talk again, and they would do it subconsciously. They wouldn't even notice that they were doing it. They would bring up politics. They would bring up, well, Trump. Just so you know, Trump did. You know, Trump. I don't care what Trump did. I don't care. The problem is you think that I like Trump because I don't agree with what you're doing. And that's what it came to. It's like, because I don't agree with you, I must love Trump. And I don't. Plain and simple. But because I don't agree with you, I must love Trump and do what Trump wants and do what Trump says and agree with whatever Trump agrees with. And I never will because I'm not attaching myself to something that can become me. Um, anyway, after that, I they did it. They did it again where they were gonna maybe go back or not go back, and they decided not to go back. After the call was majority of parents doing the same thing, saying we want our kids back. Then I was like, I gotta, I'm gonna look her up on Facebook. So I went on her Facebook, and you know, to the her original stance is I need to protect your children. There's pictures on her Facebook of her at a wedding without masks on and dancing indoors. Um, and really like right, I think it was September. So it was like in the middle of like when it was, I don't know, getting bad, I guess. Um, without masks, dancing close, everybody's close, and no mask. So what she's implying to me then is that she can protect my kid, but she can't protect her family or friends or whoever's wedding that was. I said that doesn't make much sense. So why would she do that? Why would she say that she needs to do it to protect my kid when she's not doing it herself? Like she's not living that. So why is she making other people live it? Well, if I broke it down to, well, maybe it's because she doesn't have control. And one, I found it was her. Um, I brought it up to her on the phone. She's like, "Well, that was my son's wedding," and hung up on me because she had nothing intelligent to say when you're called out on your contradictions. Um, so I kind of tried to make it known on their social media page, but she immediately untagged herself. But I kind of came to the conclusion, and she wouldn't address it. She just untagged herself, avoid it, which is usually what you do when you don't know why you do things. She, what I think it is she can't control her family. She has no control there. Somebody else is controlling that family or controlling her, and it's really unfortunate. But that's where this behavior typically comes from. Is you feel a lack of control somewhere, so you put that control somewhere else. She doesn't believe in masks, or she would have had a mask on when she was doing her dance with her son. And because I mean, that's what they said. They said put masks on for Thanksgiving dinner, for Christmas. You're supposed to wear a mask, but he was dancing. So, in other words, she wasn't living what she was preaching. Hence, she's a liar. She's a liar. Um, she lies to herself. She probably literally believes she believed in masks, and then it was like, oh, well, this time's different. It's my son's wedding, justifying her behavior here, but she wasn't living her reality, which is the problem with trying to respect everybody all the time, because life is way too complex to lie. You're gonna, you're going to, um, you're going to see yourself repeating the behaviors you're lying about, and that's just what happens. Um, and then recently, Jonathan Casa, um, he ran for state. He's on the board. He ran for the state rep, and I think he recently just lost. But he posted something on Facebook, and let me see if I can find it real quick. I think his name's here. Here he is, Jonathan Casa. This was what he posted. Okay, so this was the post that he made. It says, "Hey all, if you're uncomfortable, let's talk and elevate the discussion. So if you're uncomfortable, I want you to communicate with me. Let's kind of heighten this discussion." He wants to do it with judge free, so everybody's open to share their opinion. He's not going to threaten or anything like that. He just wants to understand what other people think. And that way he can learn a little bit about the community. That is what he's implying to me with that statement. What he also did was he shared something that he shared a picture of something. And this picture says what people think pride is, rainbows and parades, what pride actually is. You can see them for yourself, but it says a couple of them. So if you have pride, that means you love yourself more than needing to be loved by others. It means you survive hard shit. It means that you have gender euphoria, protecting trans youth, gender euphoria, feeling free, boring every day as your authentic self. That's what pride is. Now, so I'm saying that that's what he believes. I don't believe that. So he is on the board of the school, is on the school board, and I am part of the community. So I wanted to engage in a conversation to elevate it, to you know, see why he believed it, and if he could take my opinion into consideration. He also said, "Since when is love ever a threat? Love is love. We're all equal. Embrace it." So I made a comment on here. Very thought out comment. Feel free to go check it out. But basically, you're just expressing everything that I'm kind of expressing here, specifically in direct response to this. And then his response to me was, "Thanks for sharing your thoughts openly. You seem to have it all figured out. I'm comfortable admitting I don't. More so with each passing year, it seems. Take care." Okay. Well, that's not elevating a discussion. That is not understanding your community. That's that is not. I asked questions in my comment, and no questions were answered. So if you, I would come to the conclusion that that's not what he meant. What he said is not what he meant, because if he would have replied with a meaningful response, it would have addressed what I said. He wouldn't have addressed me as a person, right? He addressed me as he just attacked me as a person instead of the um, thought process and the information that was within what I wrote. It wasn't about what I wrote, wasn't about any of that. He just immediately attacked me. And that is what people do when they don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. That is a direct response when somebody is uncomfortable talking about something because they probably don't believe it themselves. However, it's what everybody else likes. So, just in order to not be publicly criticized, um, they'll say things that they don't really believe in, and that's what I see here. So I see a sarcastic insult to me as a person when I didn't insult anybody or him. I just simply stated my opinion, what I thought his intentions were. I wrote it all out. I didn't leave anything to be taken in the wrong way. That's what I try to do. I try to make sure I'm as detailed as possible, and that's why I'm so self-conscious, because it's not that I don't. It's not that I'm worried about being. Um, it's not that I'm not worried about being understood or misunderstood. I'm worried about being understood. So when I speak, it's not that I'm like I need to make sure that you understand what I mean. Or I want to make sure you understand exactly my points rather than creating your own intention behind what I'm saying. So if I can give enough detail, typically there's enough detail to say, all right, well, that's not his intention. And it's not as simple as saying, it's not my intention to, or I don't mean to, because those things, like if somebody just says that, that typically means that's what they're about to do, right? It's like, I don't mean to insult you, but, well, they're about to insult you and they know it, and that's their intention. Um, but if somebody came up to you and was like, look, this is how I feel about this situation. My intention's to do this. Would you be comfortable talking about, would you be that is how you have a conversation with somebody that is on a basis where you can't assume intention. You also have to remember, define the words, figure out exactly what you guys are trying to do. That's not what he did here. So this is what led me to that other page that I deciphered because I did not trust the people that were in charge of it because they gave me no reason to trust them, because their word is not enough. Their word will never be enough, and neither will yours, and neither should mine. My word should never be enough because I know I've said I was a lot of things in the past that I wasn't. It wasn't until recently that I discovered what I wasn't. That's all I know today is what I'm not. I just know what I am not. I don't know what you are. I don't know. I just know what I'm not and what I want to be in the future. And I paint a picture of a plan that says this is how I want to get there. And then I find out more of what I'm not along the way. So I think you should maybe, I think I kind of explained why I was irritated about why I don't think that it's right for kids and why this school board is not the right school board for these kids. But what I would really like to get into, because I think that this is another thing that most people do, is they like to tell you everything that's wrong and um, what you need to do to change their reality. And this is what you need to do. You need to do, you need to do, and all they need to do is tell you what to do, and that's how you make changes. And it's not that simple, or like life would be amazing because, oh, that's what you want, right? You just want to be able to sit back and tell people what to do. You want that privilege that you think that somebody else has, and you think that that privilege equals tell other people what to do because you feel like you're being told what to do. So give me a second here, and I will actually let me. I want to play this video while I gotta go grab a water real quick, but listen to the end of this video. I'm gonna put this in my link too to watch the whole thing. But this is Malcolm X, and he's probably my most inspirational. He's one of the most inspirational people that I've ever had the opportunity to listen to. Unfortunately, due to what he did here, this is the speech um, that ultimately, ended our chances of hearing him speak live and seeing where he could have taken what he has learned. The reason I love Malcolm X is not because of any. Uh, Here's the thing, right? I don't look at Malcolm X as a somebody that inspired just black people and put white people down because that's not what Malcolm X was. What Malcolm X was Malcolm X knew what he was not anymore. And when he discovered what he wasn't, he made the correct changes, the necessary changes to find out what he was. And it didn't matter what it was. That's what he did it. He took the consequences. He took responsibility of everything. He always took responsibility. And when he took responsibility, um, he was able to achieve things. He had so much, like that is so much, there's so much power in that when you realize that everything has consequences. It doesn't matter who you are. Everything has consequences. Are you willing to accept that consequence? Are you willing to give the power to give up power? Ask yourself that question. Do you have power, enough power to let go of power? But listen to the end of this speech. Just to give you a little background on the speech, this is the speech that happened the day after the Nation of Islam tried to burn down his house with his family in the house because he only because he left the Nation of Islam. When he left, he said, "I'm not going to say anything that I know about the Nation of Islam. I just don't belong here. I'm going on my own way." Their power structure still felt threatened that people would follow him. And then here's the end of this speech. So I'm going to let you listen to this real quick, and I will be right back. I just want to comment on that comment. There's nothing more important than two groups of black people fighting each other. What he's saying about separating black people is when you separate black people, and again, I'll get into how I think or my opinion on how we unite and become equitable and still have our identities, um, and almost continue what we're doing in just a different way. But what he's saying is, if black people want to achieve a solution, if they are black, if you feel that because you are black that you are being served an injustice at all, and then there's a lot of black people that feel that way, there's a problem. There's obviously a problem that lies with the fact that you are black and that society is doing something to simulate a decision knowing that I looked into it and I'm not accepting what you say is a truth because I know my first thoughts are probably not right. Anytime I have a thought, that first thought is typically either um, wrong, like completely wrong, or it is somebody else's opinion that I've heard, or it is a mixture of a bunch of things that I put together in my head, and I need to make sure that I put it back together before I genuinely express that, right? Like, if me and you were just having a conversation high and by, I talk, speak freely, whatever comes out will come out. But if we are talking, something about this, that's why you see me kind of going all like my eyes and everything, because I'm trying to make sure I formulate what I'm trying to say properly. But it's very thought out. I don't just throw things out there with emotion anymore. Like I, I don't do it anymore intentionally. When I'm being intentional about things, I typically can control my. I can live with my quiet rage right here. Um, that way, I don't rage on you because somebody's got to feel. Somebody's got to feel the rage, and I put it on myself so that it's. I don't ignore it, but I don't put it on you. So let's pay attention to this word.
Human rights, so that the
Let me talk about add my opinion on that right now. That is my next stance. Is anybody's talk? It goes with everything. But if anybody's talking politics with me, and they do not tell me why, and they express emotionally towards a human being for their being as to why they're not voting for that person, it tells me that they have been told that that's what this person is. Because I can tell you right now, you are not going to see a politician be openly saying the things that we think that they mean. It would not work. It would not work today. Like, it would not work. A comedian says something mildly inappropriate anymore, and they're completely taken off TV. If a politician openly said these things directly and said the things that we think they mean, we would not be seeing them. It wouldn't happen. It would never get to that point. So with that being said, I make sure that if I'm going to have that thought out conversation, which I tried to do with, John Casa that I showed you, I took my time, my valuable time to try to come up with a solution with the people that make the decisions, a different solution, something different, not something I want, something different. That's all I'm asking. Let's think about something different, come up with something different, have a conversation, and then you ignore my thought out conversation because you needed to keep your image by posting something before you thought it out. You know, as a politician, you should expect that from the public, but you shouldn't, as the public, you should not expect that from your politician. And if somebody gives you a vague answer like that, they're usually not for you. So you attach yourself to a group that is coming off as aligning with what you want. And what you want is to um, protect yourself from them, but also you would like to feel powerful. So when that happens, and as soon as you attach yourself, it manifests. And once it manifests, um, you stop kind of finding yourself and you start becoming that thing that you just attach yourself to. So then he became and obviously if you hear his voice in this video compared to like all his other speeches, you can hear the humbleness in these speeches rather than his previous ones. Like his house just almost got burnt down. His family was in there the night before, and he still came and did this, knowing that, well, I didn't do anything yet, and they still tried to burn my house down with my kids in there. I didn't even do anything yet. Most men would crumble and not do this. This is courageous. I think it's sometimes even, and this is a complete opinion that kind of just came to me, so it's not really an educated opinion, but it really seems like it may be harder to leave an in group once you're in than it is, um, or more consequences to leave an in group once you're in than there is um, if you're not. So let's put it this way. Let me go back a little bit. He joined the Nation of Islam, converted to Islam. Was a very good speaker. He sounded very good. He presented very well. Strong voice. So he used Elijah Muhammad as a mentor. He thought, well, a lot what Elijah Muhammad was preaching was beautiful and prosperous, and that was a good goal to reach. And they set these moral guidelines, right? So by the Quran, they went by these moral guidelines, and since Elijah Muhammad was the preaching and pretending to be the Messiah, and he was talking to God, and God's voice was coming out of him, and that's what was driving Elijah Muhammad. He was attached to it. He believed it, and in return, he wasn't lying to the people when he was talking to all of these people, all of these other black people that felt just as like he did. When he was doing those things, he believed it. I think that's the thing I need. Like, that's the thing that's hard to conceptualize. Like, he believed it. He was not just lying to the people, right? Like, if you think of somebody today that you hear their voice all the time on TV and their face is constantly on TV, it's not that they are lying to people to get them to get to your goal. It's that they believe what they're telling you, and it's like, why do you believe that, right? So that's what happened to me. You're following those why they're doing it, because sometimes we don't know why we do things. It's just life. We do things sometimes. Um, so anyway, he found out that Elijah Muhammad had all these kids with young girls out of wedlock, and it absolutely did. That's when he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" Because he's supposed to be holy and married and shouldn't be doing that. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he do that? And made him question everything that he was. So he tried to kind of discover himself, right? Like he was scared. I was scared when I had a realization of I'm not what I think I am, right? I don't. I'm not what I think I am because, well, this just proved that I'm not. It's like, gee, damn, that's you just have to realize that you're nothing, like everything you are, like, or do you still hold on to something so that you still feel like I'm this, but what I'm trying to say is he absolutely started to pick himself apart, and he left for Mecca, went there for I believe 5 months, um, learned a lot about what he wasn't and what the Muslim religion wasn't that he was told, what Africa and Mecca and all the other African uh, communities over there, what he was told was going on over there was not what was happening over there. So he was like shocked by what he saw immediately, and then what he learned shocked him even more. And then when he learned what he wasn't, it shocked him even more. And that's when he came back. And when he came back, he started getting threats from all different groups. He spoke out on the hierarchy of Nation of Islam, as well as how they are connected directly with the KKK and how they actually work together to oppress their own people so that they could remain in control. He said that. Once he said that, that's what got his house almost um, burnt down with his kids in there. I'm sure they expected that to stop him from doing what he was doing, but it didn't. And he showed up the next day. He made a beautiful, thought out speech. And in my opinion, you can hear not only the humbleness, but you can hear how he's still kind of transitioning his thought process from he was subconsciously doing. Because if you listen to it very closely, he changes words. Like he says a word and then kind of come back and change that word a little bit. Um, because sometimes when we speak his knowledge and taking what he had learned and taking his experience and holding that to himself, and he thought that it was meaningful to take the consequence of death to express those things to you and I. And I think that takes a lot of courage, especially in hindsight, knowing that this was, I believe, uh, I believe it was the speech prior to his assassination. So it just kind of goes to show you the power that's associated with critical thinking and developing yourself and not developing an identity and trying to do something different. There's so much power there, and as soon as you have power for people to listen, people don't, that hierarchy that we can't perceive is just um, it's too strong. So I want to talk about what I think real quick, because it's been a pretty long video. I've been talking to myself for a long time. I'm really losing my voice. But I want to show you, let me bring up, I have some pictures that let me take this off. I will bring up divide and conquer. I'm sure you've heard that because everybody talks about that now. They say, "Oh, they're dividing and conquering, dividing and conquering." It's like, yeah, all right, well, keep yelling that they're dividing and conquering. But who's dividing? Who's conquering? And what is the solution that they're trying to get, right? So if somebody is dividing, conquering, they're dividing and then conquering for a solution. So first you have to come up with why they're doing it, who's doing that, and how are you divide it. That's kind of when you start asking yourself that. But then you want to break it down and say, okay, well, what does that actually mean, divide and conquer? Well, divide and conquer means that there's an overall problem. There's a problem at the highest point, right? At the most extreme, there is a problem. And the problem could be solved if everybody was exactly the same person. We could solve this problem. But when you split into two people, right? We split, but now we're two people. Now it's going to create, now we have two problems, right? We have the problem within these two groups, and then this problem still. This problem didn't go away because we separate it, right? If we run from this problem, we're there, we're battling with this problem, we can't deal with it, we go here. All right, now you got this problem, now this creates another problem. So what do you do here? Do you try to fix the problem, or do you run again, because then it's going to separate more. So this is where I think we can start looking to provide a solution to what everybody says they're fighting for, an actual solution, not a perceived idea uh, that has no actual plan in place, no actual. I mean, a lot of these plans literally don't even say. At the end of the day, it's black and white. This is not for equity. It's for power, control, and um, it's for us. But it's really for somebody. Like somebody's going to benefit from what they're doing. So this is all at the smallest scale. Problem creates sub problems. If you divide, then you can create two solutions to the problem to create a solution to the main problem. Now, how do you get from solution to problem if you're still separated? You're still separated. How do you get to that? Like, we're still going to have a problem. So what does that happen? Another divide. So what happens is when you divide us, right? I mean, I'm sure like back in the 60s, I know because James Baldwin, I read a lot about James Baldwin. Um, it just wasn't, the media didn't allow the coverage for the gay community back then. But he was a black male, a gay black male back in uh, the time back when it was visible racism, KKK, like it was in their face, and this man still spoke out and talked about what things we could do, and still try to give solutions on what to do. And he was very good at words because he was a writer, which actually gives some very good writings. If you don't know who James Baldwin is, I would suggest reading a little bit about him. So what happens is now you have a problem. Now you have a black and white problem. Now you have a problem, a black and white problem, but now you have a gay problem, you have a gay black problem, you have a gay white problem, and it doesn't stop. It just becomes this thing where it's like, these are all problems now. There's no way you're figuring it out because, well, we separated you by things that you can't control, and now you're going to sit with that group and you're going to be that group and you're going to fight for that group and you're going to think that you're being um, somewhat helpful for the good of that group. However, if the group has no intention of ever coming apart, like for instance, if the LGBT community has a Pride Month dedicated to them, they should have a vision to say, well, by 2025, I hope that we don't need this Pride group, right? Because a Pride group will be to solve a problem, and putting something into existence for infinity that you put in place as a solution to a problem means the problem's never going to be solved. So that's where I'm like, all right, well, then still, what do you do, right? Like I'm telling you at the same time of you need to, like the black and white communities still need to be able to get together. They still need to be able to um, solve a problem by that group. But at the same time, I'm telling you it's bad. I'm telling you that I think it's bad to form pride groups. All right, so let me show you this one. So at the highest extreme, this what's up, Jumbo? My little brother, yeah, my little big brother just came in. So at the highest extreme, I should say highest, but at another level of extreme that I think breaks it down enough to see how bad it can get. This is divide and conquer. So you have the problem, sub-problem, sub-problems, and sub-problems, sub-problems, and sub-problems. And until you have solutions to every single sub problem, and then solve those sub problems, and then those sub problems, you will never get to the actual problem. Okay. So again, how do you fix that? How's it possible? Because it goes even deeper than that, right? Because within every group, you have the individual, right? And the individual has the individual problems, right? So if an individual has individual problems and a group has their problems and another group has their problems, but ultimately everybody has the same problem, does that say anything? Does it tell you anything? It tells me a lot, right? It's like I'm no different than you. It looks like the problem because if you look at these things, right, like you're dividing something. Like I mean, inevitably there's a problem. Okay, there's always going to be a problem. And you want my opinion what the problem is, and I would put at the top of this chart. It would say suffering. Suffering is a problem. So how do you conquer? What do you? How do you find meaning in suffering? And I think that's what happens throughout history is the meaning, how you find purpose and meaning in suffering is a lot of times you attach yourself to something that you think is meaningful, which is typically your community. And if your community looks like you, that's what you're attached to, then you see somebody that doesn't look like you would automatically assume that that person is maybe a threat because they don't look like I've seen that before, right? It's like if you've seen a lion walking down the street, like, that's a lion. It's probably a threat, but not all lions are just going to attack you, right, for no reason. I mean, Mike Tyson, I think, had a pet tiger, so some can be nice. Um, so this is where I think that um, group ideology is bad. However, community is great and necessary. I also think that you're still going to have the pride groups, but you'll also have um, community groups and community groups that define a part of your identity, just a part of your identity, not your identity. So what I mean by that is you have life's suffering, and life suffering is already, this has already been manifested in our world, right? So you take the first subgroup, and that first subgroup is right at the very deepest one, so the one that's in here, down in that middle ground, the one in the very core of all the problems, your problems. So first you need to figure out your problem. You need to get your life together, get your family together, and figure it out before we start trying to solve life's problems. Because I think we get attached to solving life's problems to avoid facing our problems. So first, take responsibility, look at yourself and say, is this really my problem? Right? Ask yourself that question. Is this my problem? If it is, let's fix it. So with that being said, again, focus on self. Stop looking externally. Look at yourself. You are not as beautiful as you think. You are ugly. And beautiful people see an ugly world. Ugly people see a beautiful world. Beautiful people want to destroy the ugly world. And ugly people want to destroy the beauty. Humble people are humble people perceive a world of imperfect people that they're that you feel as if you can share your experience as truthful as you possibly can, in hopes to help imperfect people find meaning in their suffering. So again, question: who are you? What's your personality? Write it. Like I've written this stuff down about myself. Physically written it down. Look at my personality. What is my personality? Who am I? What are you? Describe yourself. Are you active? Are you strong? Like what is it about you that you are like, this is me? Right? Write it down. Um, look at look at all of those things and say, okay, are these good things or bad things about me? Like, do I like this or do I not like this? Um, and then go a little deeper and ask yourself that. And then ask yourself, what inspires you? So this gets back to that whole mentor thing. Like, what is your inspiration for doing what you're doing? Ask yourself that. What do you stand for? Like, what is something that you are willing to die for? Ask yourself that question and be honest about yourself. Like, if you had to, if you came into, there's only one way for you to go out, how would that have to be? Like, what would you have to do in order to accept that? Example, like Malcolm X, like he stood for um, to have people not feel the way that he felt his entire life. And he was willing to accept his consequence. And people, you would usually look at it like, yeah, he would, the reason I would stand up for myself is for this person. The reason I would stand up for this is for those people. He did it, he knew the consequence of him speaking was possibly death. And he had to run that through his head. And if you ask, in my opinion, it was, I need to tell the truth because I'm tired of living a lie. And I feel so much better knowing that what I say is truthful so that I don't have to unlearn who I think I am and I can continue to learn what I'm not as I speak my truth, if that makes any sense. So he was willing to speak his truth and then with that comes what he thought would come from the truth is a better life for the people in his community. Um, if that's so, again, think about that. Um, ask yourself what you want. Like, what is it that you're striving for? What's your purpose? What's important to you? And then ask yourself how you're getting there. How are you going to get there? Are you you're going to walk, run? Like, which is the what's your priority? Like, what is it the thing now? What's the thing like 5 years? And then what's your end goal? Like, what do you want to see before the day before your time comes? What do you want to see? Like, what is it that you want to do you think are going to get in the way of those things that you want? Um, if there are obstacles, ask yourself, well, these obstacles, this is how we can handle it if this obstacle comes up, if this is what we could possibly do. And that way, when something happens, you're ready and you're not reacting out of emotion. You already know it's going to happen. Hopefully, it doesn't. But if it does, here's my reaction. And that way, you get a better reaction from not only yourself, because you now believe that that's the right thing to do. Like you already contemplated it. This is the right thing. You do it. Now you do it. You feel a little bit better about yourself because you know that you made that decision. You figure out if it works or not. Um, yeah, and then last question I would say is become better. So ask yourself the things of habits that what's your everyday habits? Do you have a routine that you're kind of stick to every day? Is there any information that you would like any knowledge you would like to gain? And then, you know, go through everything again. How are you going to get there? How are you going to gain that information? But what can you do? But first, check the things that you do every day that you don't like about yourself. If you're doing something every single day and you know you don't like that about you, then stop doing it. If you can't stop doing it, then you're not going to stop anything external ever. Never going to happen because, again, people can feel that you are not being truthful with yourself. I've never met a disrespectful person that respected themselves. Um, I've never met a disrespectful person that respected themselves. I've never met a person that disrespected themselves that respected other people. So fix yourself, clean your room, make your bed, lie in it, dwell in it, figure it out, and then and then changes can happen on the outside. So once you figure out yourself, if that's what you want to identify as your primary human characteristic is, um, you know, black, you should have a community group where it's all people of that identity coming together with the sole purpose of trying to figure out ways to solve a common problem between only that identity. And then you should be part of other communities. So if you are religious, find your religious identity. If you are, um, a science person, go in that science community. If you are into art, if you're into the technology, whatever it is, you should be part of multiple different identity groups so that you don't lose your identity. You'll get to see people of other identities, and then there should be the primary group with the overall goal is should be your community. Your local community should have, and then your community should be broken into those groups with no intention of overtaking control, but for intentions of being a community that has a certain set of values and things like that, um, that everybody is deciding on. And I think the most beneficial part of that is that I don't have to. You're not telling me how I have to explain to my kid what a black person is. You're not telling me how I have to explain to my kid what a LGBTQ person is. You're not telling me how to explain what an ally is. They're seeing it for themselves because you're going to be part of my kid's life, right? That's what community is beneficial for. So wherever you are and whatever you're participating in becomes your life. You get to see it. You get to teach my kid that. You get to show them. You don't have to rely on me making sure I'm saying the right things. You get to do it. Not only will it make you a better person by being part of a community and not just this, it could possibly make the world just a better, more humble, less self-righteous, less entitled bunch of people, because it's becoming that. It's disgusting. It's That's why I did this video. I'm sorry, I'm like exhausted early, but look, I have no intentions of hurting people. I get very very passionate about this because I've had a lot of different friends in my life. I've seen the pain that this causes them, and through that, and through the conversations with them, and like some of the certain people, like a girl that I worked with, I'll mention names just in case of she didn't want her name mentioned, but me and so she was a black woman and I am a white. She was a black straight woman and I'm a white straight male. And through our conversations, we talked about these types of things. We've said to each other, "I don't agree. I agree. I agree with privilege. Disagree." And my belief went back and forth like 1,000 times. However, at the end of the day, I only came to this part of me today because of that conversation. And that's what always dwelled on me. It's like I learned so much from the person, right? Like I didn't believe in white privilege because I never felt privileged. So she believed in white privilege because, well, she's not white, right? So they're told you can't experience what you're not, which is also just a way to confuse people. But she could, I feel like you start to see it on an individual level. You can start to feel, okay, hold on, that doesn't make much sense for this person. But then we go home and we justify it because we see all these things and we're like, nah, maybe they are. You know what? Maybe he's lying to me. I don't know. And we just get really confused and we're scared. So we look for that protection and we're like, well, that's a good protection. But imagine if everybody could have that conversation and that and there was more people like her in my kids' lives and more, I just think that would be a better solution than what's happening now, than telling my kids that they're privileged and your kids that they're oppressed, because the same people that are planting the seeds that telling you that you're oppressed, that you're privileged. It's the same people telling the person the opposite thing. And if you want to call it the white man, go ahead and call it the white man that is holding you down, because it might be a white man, but it is not white people. I can guarantee that. It is not all white people. There is a there's a community that we just are not obviously aware of that is pulling our strings. They know psychologically what they're doing. They know that none of these things are actual solutions, because if they were, they wouldn't exist, because when there's something is solved, it disappears, and they don't let it disappear. They push it. They actually are making them stronger. They're making these things stronger, and the people that are the same people that are literally they're so upfront about it today. The racism thing is so upfront. They're just telling you. They're just telling you that that's what they're doing, and it's so sad to me, because it's like you. This person literally just said that you are something because of your color, and it's like, oh, thank you. I need your help. Like, when I hear that about white people, I look at you and I'm like, that's ignorant, because you don't know me. That's not me, right? So, also, what I'd say recommend is look up what the universal definition of a black person is. Look at what the universal definition of a white person is, and then compare it to what you wrote down about who you are, and see if it's the same thing. Because I could, I would bet anything that it's not. Some things will be, but I bet you if in school, if they did this activity in school, in a diverse school, and they did this activity, and then the teacher took all the characteristics and said, okay, if whoever wrote down this characteristic and then separate them that way, I bet you they look more colorful and more like a rainbow than the rainbows we created. Because that's diversity, that's equality, that gets people actually love you to fight for you, and not somebody that feels guilt because they've been told that they've been harassing people that stand next to you. That person doesn't actually love you, but your community would. Your people close to you would, when they know you, and they'll stand up for you. I would stand up for I don't care what it is. If that's something that you believe in, and I know that you're passionate about, I will stand up for you for it. But I will not stand up for something that is not properly defined with any type of real solution. I would also question why the people that leave these things like Malcolm X, when they leave, they disappear completely. But the people that you're seeing all the time on TV telling you this and that and the other haven't changed at all, and they're still saying the same things, and they're so passionate about the same things. But when somebody says something different or outside the box, they are now crazy, psycho, what do they say, Uncle Tom. They are this, that, the third, and it's like we don't notice, and next thing you know, they're gone, they're erased, and then the same agenda gets pushed and over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it doesn't stop. Different face, same agenda. Different face, same agenda, and we follow it, and we continue to follow it. Think about music, movies, all of it. Why do you hear a song and then it's a one-hit wonder? But you hear another song from somebody, and that same somebody is constantly on there, but his music never changes. So everyone's like, "Yeah, you're holding on to this. That's it. That's what we need." But the people that say something different are like, "You're crazy. You're psycho. You don't know what you're talking about. You see a different world." No, nope. I just think about that. You know, you want diversity, maybe we need to come up with a different solution. So I embrace anybody and anything that has actual thoughtful opinions about something like this. to please let me know. So I would love to try to get something together. Right now, I, I got messages from everybody thinking I was insulting everybody from different groups, and it disheartens me because like makes you question like am I actually doing it for that? And I'm not. I know that I don't. I know that I want to put a solution in place, or I wouldn't have risked. I wouldn't have risked doing that, knowing that it was going to affect everybody, not just a single group of people. When you do something and you post something emotionally or that's very, you know, meaningful to you, if it's directed towards something specific, then your intentions are probably not the best and you don't realize it yet. But when you do it about something so broad that doesn't identify one of those things, it affects everybody. So it doesn't matter. And that's how you know that it's not them talking, it's the thing that you're talking about. And it hurts because I was that for so long. I mean, I'll go even down even further. Parkwood. It says Parkwood. Parkwood. I was Parkwood, so whatever Parkwood did, I did. Whatever Parkwood did, I justified saying, well, it's my Parkwood. Parkwood's the best. But a neighborhood that's next door to us was like, they are not. They're bad people. They did the same things we did, and then later became friends and were laughed about all the fights we did. But we were still like segregated in a way because of we did our thing, they did their thing, and we formed groups for protection. But inevitably, that protection turns into hate and anger and resentment and jealousy. And at the end of the day, be yourself, your true self, and you can't be your true self if you're still blaming the world. I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. If you want to see a beautiful world, you need to see you're ugly. Otherwise, the world's going to remain ugly. So at the end of the day, do not indoctrinate the kids with this any ideology on any side. It's not fair to the kids. Let kids be kids. Kids don't deserve it. They didn't do anything to deserve it. They are not your puppets. They are not pawns. They are not things. They are not supposed to be used as objects for your political gain, for your financial gain. They're not objects. They're kids. Stop being envious of children because they're so free and creative and unique in personality, and trying to give them a personality because it would make you feel better. It's sick. It's extremely sick doing things to kids to make yourself feel better, because if everybody thought like you, your life would be easier, because all you're doing is making another kid. If the world turned out that way, you'd make another kid grow up the same way you did because of something else, and that's wrong, not respectful. So maybe we should stop pushing differences and look at the similarities, because there's more of them than you think. I'm going to stop now because it's been, Jesus, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Anyway, thank you. I really appreciate it. Please share, comment, message me if you'd like to talk, and I would love to continue this conversation in order to come up with, to have more detailed plans on what I'm trying to see if works, because we all know that what we're doing is not working, because history says it doesn't work for us. History says it works for the guy up top, and the people below will follow because they want that protection. So think of Germany and ask yourself how the people did what Hitler was telling them to do, because it looks so evil. Every single person on this planet looks at any documentary about what Hitler was doing and pictures themselves in the camps or being the victim. Try picturing yourself as a Nazi and see where that gets you. Because obviously a very large group of people did conform to whatever that ideology was, and they did what was told. And you would do the same if you have an ideology, and one ideology instead of an individual identity that's involved in different group identities. So, thank you. And this time I am going to stop. Thank you. I hope you have a great night. Share, like, comment, follow. I hope you um, gained something from it. I know I did. Like I said, I like to learn about what I'm not all the time, and when I reflect on this, I will definitely learn something, and I will again try to post something more often, but seems to be about once a month. So that is a flaw of mine that I need to get better. Make some time to do this and stop overthinking. I overthink. I'm too worried about being perfect than just being real. So thank you, and thanks for watching. You, sorry, again, I'm trying to get used to this thing. All right. Well, thank you, and again, thanks for watching. Um, I'm going to put all the uh, actually the Malcolm X videos. If you go into my channel, I have a folder playlist of a lot of Malcolm X's speeches. The one that we listened to on here was it's called The Last Message, I believe. It's like an hour and a half long. That's why we didn't listen to the whole thing. And then also everything about the school, um, the links to all the videos and things to what the school was showing the kids, and just kind of create your own opinion as to why that would be beneficial to kids. And maybe if you agree with it already, maybe go into it watching it and say, why wouldn't this be good for kids? And if you disagree with it already, maybe go into it and think, why would this be good for kids? And then formulate an opinion. Don't just use your assumption and justify it as you watch, because that's why you'll never, ever, 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 ever change your mind, which will never let you grow. All right. This time I am out. Thank you for joining. Again, I was definitely the dumbest guy in the room. I hope that I got a little bit dumber along that talk, and humbled myself just a little bit more every day. So have a good day. Like, subscribe, and goodbye.